Let me tell you one secret about investment. The last time things were certain and sure was in the Garden of Eden, and we are all sure that we are no longer in that garden. The life we live and the world we live, it's all about uncertainty. Someone told me when I was a young guy that the most predictable thing about life is unpredictability. That's how you cannot predict life. Let me tell you one secret. No matter how cautiously you take life, you'll never get out of it alive. Neither will you able to evade what we call the old clutches, the clutches of the old age and death. Those are two things that are very certain, sure that you must face them. So whenever it comes to investment, don't make it look like you have to be certain on what you want to do. There is no way life will ever present you with all certainty. There is no way you're gonna get what we call a good location, a good landlord. Well, if you're not owning the place where you're establishing your shop or your business or something of sort, there's no way you'll be certain that you'll get traffic, that's the customers and such. There is no way the tax revenues and whatever will be favorable to you. So it's all about getting yourself out there, being sure and trusting in yourself and saying, I'm gonna take this step and believe that the next one will be better than today. That's what we call investment. It's all about you trying it. Let me ask you a question. If you are not certain about your life, I mean, how many of you can tell me whether they will be alive tomorrow? Nobody can tell me that, all right? Because we are not sure. Just like I've said, the most uncertain thing, or the most certain thing, or the most predictable thing about life is its unpredictability. That's what you're supposed to know about this dear life that we live. If you are not sure about the life that we live, then how do you want to be sure with your 100,000 that you want to invest? People approach me and ask me, Joseph, then I have 100K. Where and how can I invest the money? Sometimes I get astonished. Okay, I'm not saying it's not good to ask advices, but my question is this. You cannot be sure, or rather, you cannot get all the things favorable to you. You cannot get a nice location. You cannot get a very nice house. You cannot get a nice place in terms of customer relation, something of sort. You know, the customs and the revenues in such of a country cannot be such favorable to you. Sometimes there is that one thing or two things that you have to sacrifice and make sure that at least you have that business running for the sake of your future or for the sake of your tomorrow. And I tell people one thing. Even if you want to invest that 100,000, at least have a basis of what you want to establish. And I say this, if you want to invest a certain amount of money, ask your question this question. Number one, what do you know? All right. Number two, what have you learned in school, maybe, or something of sort? And number three, what do you love? All right. Because you may invest on what you know, not necessarily what you love, but at least you know that. Number two, you may invest on what you know, not necessarily what you love or something of sort. Number two, you may invest, or number three, you can invest on something that you've learned. You may not love it and you may not know it, but you've learned. And by default of you learning, definitely you have to know it. All right. So it's always good to make sure that at least you revolve around those three things, because that will be the simplest way I can answer the question that what can you invest on, or how and when should you invest. That's the simplest advice I can give someone. All right. Because if we, or me or you, we rely on what we call the salary, you're employed somewhere, you get a salary, that is not certain. All right. I always tell people that salary is there to make sure that at least you don't go hungry, you make sure that you have a shelter and you have a clothing. Salary is meant to meet only those three things, and that's why you find people are being employed for over 40 years, 35 years, 50 years, and when they come back from a retire, these people are very struggling because they are not used to the world outside. You don't know how to invest, you never even dared to invest or something of sort. So it's always good to make sure that at least you take that, what we call a step of hope. You invest on that, whatever thing that you do love and like, or understand, or you've learned about it, so that at least you can have what we call a passive income. And a passive income is a very necessary amount of money, because that is the money now you can use to make sure that at least you buy things that I call the good to have and the nice to have. Because the salary should buy you what we call the must have. All right. So before I leave, I'm gonna leave you with this quote. Remember, no matter how cautiously you take life, you will never escape what we call the clutches of old age. That will always come, irrespective of who you are, how you do it, and when you will do it. So take that step of faith, Try to save no matter how little you have. People do say that I want to get a bigger salary so that I can save. Why don't you shed on your spendings? Why don't you shed on what you do? Maybe let's say you live in a very expensive house. Maybe let's say 20,000. Why must you live there? All right. I'm pretty sure you can get the same house of the same quantity. Maybe if it's three-bedroom house, you can get the same with a lower price. Now that amount you can put aside and save it somewhere for a period of time. If you have the capacity to save uh, 20,000 in 6 months, then it's pretty sure that in 6 months you will have your 20,000. You have the capacity to save 20,000 in 1 month, then you have the capacity to achieve 20,000 in 1 month, because we are all able differently. That's life, and that's the beauty of it. All right. So I'm a believer, just like an iron sharpens another iron, so we learn from each other. Help me understand what you know or what you understand. You don't have to agree with me all the time. Just give your suggestion, objection, or something of sort. Let's meet on the comments below, comment section. Share your mind. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Share it if it's possible on your side, so that we may be able to grow each other. Thank you, and let's meet in the next one.